What's up, everybody? It's your boy D Matthews. I'm here right now with my man Jeff Carroll for the Rebuild the Box podcast. We talk to entrepreneurs who don't think outside the box, but who rebuild it. So let me tell you about our guest today. I was really impressed by this man because when I got back into doing my research about who was who and who was making moves in the science fiction realm of books, I really wanted to reach out with somebody who I could identify to. I failed 7th grade because I was writing comic books and I was drawing comic books and writing stories. And up until then, I was always a creator. Got a little flack growing up because even though I was in the hood, I was always slightly smarter than everybody else. I was slightly more, I was miles and hills more creative than everybody else growing up in the hood. So I always kind of had to tuck that away a little bit, go jump somebody, even though I didn't really want to do it, and then go in my room later on and go draw characters. So I always had that nerd with me. And I was like, I want to find somebody, not to my Caucasian people, but I always wanted to find somebody that I can be like, okay, this dude right here got a body of work that I appreciate. And because I write sci-fi, I write post-apocalypse, I just don't write urban hood fiction. No disrespect to anybody that does, but I do a variety of things, and I wanted to talk to somebody, reach out to somebody, and just fist pump somebody who I knew who was doing the same things. My man Jeff Carroll right here was somebody that stuck out to me first, and I watched him on YouTube. He was doing his things. We're gonna talk about his social media hustle as well, but we're gonna first start off with my man introducing himself. My man Jeff Carroll, please take it away. Tell him who you are and what do you do, my man.
All right, I like to introduce myself easy by saying my name is Jeff Carroll. I'm a writer, filmmaker, media activist, and I've had a whole lot of other things that were my titles, but right now I just claim being a writer and a filmmaker, a science fiction person, solutionist, a liar, great liar, and that's it. So yeah, I've done a lot. Right now, that's what I'm doing. And I'm also a hip-hop dating coach, and that pays the bills. So
okay, we're gonna talk about that because that came across my radar as well. So where you from, Jeff?
I'm from Teaneck, New Jersey. Born and raised, lived there all my life. Actually, I was born in New York, but my parents already lived in New Jersey, so I was just born in a hospital in New York, even though that's good for street cred.
It is. I knew some brothers from Jersey. My wife from the Bronx too, and then yeah, she from the Bronx, and she like I was telling her about some dude from Jersey, and she was like Jersey dude. She just shook her head. So I know how it is with the whole East Coast thing over there. So cool. So I was doing some research. You went to college, and I heard about were you writing in college? Were you always creative in even in college? And what was that like for you?
I just answered this question maybe a week ago for a little cousin of mine. I actually started writing when I was in high school. My mother was a writer for a local newspaper, and she told me if I wanted to, a good way to get into concerts free was to write a little article about them. Wow. And I started writing when I was in high school, and I started covering the amateur night at the Apollo Theater, and that was my senior year. And fortunately, my college that I went to was only about a half an hour away from the Apollo Theater in South Jersey, in the Elizabeth area. So I kept writing all through college. Didn't really still consider myself a writer, but now that I look at it, yeah, it's one thing to see your words that you think that you put on paper onto a newspaper where other people that you don't know and never met read them.
You just dropped a nugget, Jeff. You said to get into a concert.
Oh,
right for that concert. I mean, you just dropped somebody trying to find a way to break into something. You just dropped a major nugget right there. Collaborate.
Well, that's how I did it. I still use press passes, but fortunately to get the real good coverage, you have to have a relationship with the newspaper or the publication. And sometimes it's just by giving them a sample of your work and saying, you know, how about I go cover this for your newspaper or whatever. Now, if it's a big concert like Beyonce, good luck with that. But, you know, not every newspaper has people going everywhere.
And can that be obviously leveraged for exposure for you if you write for?
Yeah, I mean, I now actually interview people that I actually want to talk to, so I get something from it as well. As far as like going to events and covering movies and stuff I used to do, I don't really do that anymore. I could if I wanted to give somebody, you know, some press and probably earn a favor in their regard. But I don't really do that because I don't want to. I like to give my advice to somebody personally. I had a bad experience reviewing movies, and it kind of stopped me from doing it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Period. Like,
I'll tell you. I mean, there's no secret.
Say yeah.
I used to go review a lot of movies. You know, House Party 1. That was one of the early movies I used to review.
Taking it back, Jeff.
Yeah, so we used to review the movies in a small viewing room the size of like a classroom.
Right.
And it'd probably be 14 chairs in there, and they gave you a full press kit. That wasn't that bad, but for movies like Boys in the Hood that I wanted to see with my friends, seeing it in a room with like 4 other writers was corny, you know? And I enjoy movies too much to not be able to get the full benefit of it. So I remember that was one element, but then I remember seeing Under the Cherry Moon, Prince's second movie, the follow-up to Purple Rain.
Which and I really saw.
Right, and it really sucked every time he showed it. So even in the pre-screenings, it sucked, right? But he was off such a high that, you know, they was like, yo, show it. People's going to love his Prince. The movie was whack, and people, and this was in a theater pre-screening. So even though it was, you know, name on the list, the production company wanted everybody to see it, so they gave tickets to the whole industry, everybody in the music industry, everybody in film, and they all came. So it was a theater. It was a regular movie theater, and it was bombing, and people was like, you know. And guess who walked out of the audience?
Ooh.
Prince.
Wow.
And he was sitting like close to the front, you know, not the first 5 rows, but definitely within the first like 10. Yeah. And so, you know, middle to the back, nobody knew he was there.
Yeah.
Maybe the people in the front knew he was there. Maybe they could see him. Maybe he did an introduction. But cats in the back, this was New York.
Right.
That's was keeping it mad real. And he got up and he said something we didn't hear. I didn't hear what he said, but it was like, yeah. And I felt bad because I was like, I like Prince. So it wasn't shade on him. The movie was whack. I mean, everybody makes a bad song.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, after I saw that, I was like,
yeah,
I don't need to go. I'm doing other things outside of it. I have, you know, I didn't want to write about that particular experience. I didn't want people to know the movie did bad, and right. Prince got offended in the theater.
So you really cared about the art. I mean, you were really trying to protect the art of it. Like, I don't want to, he an icon, he a legend.
I don't know. I'm always a brown noser. I guess I feel that some way it'll get back to me, get back to people, and they'll say, you know what, Jeff is whack. He's a hater, you know. I've since gotten over that a little bit. I still don't put people on blast publicly, but I will. If you call me, I will tell you, I think your book needs an edit.
Okay. I like
Bottom line, I've seen some people's stuff that was really garbage.
Yeah.
And I told the guy, I said, yo, what did you write?
Yeah.
I don't understand it. There's a lot of words. Nothing is coming together. Unbelievable. You need extra editing.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's good, though. People, we need, I mean, nobody want to get their feelings hurt. You know what I mean?
I know it is, like I've had, movies of mine critiqued real harsh. And it's hard to not judge the person who's reviewing your movies or your product negatively. You know what I'm saying? I had one that, when I first started screening Gold Digger Killer, I was like, oh, I don't know if people gonna like it. Then I was like, I don't know if people gonna like it here in the South. I don't know if ladies are gonna like it. Even if one person liked it, I still didn't know if the other one was gonna like it. But now I've screened it in Africa. You know what I'm saying? And people like it. So for you to hit it real hard, now you're revealing yourself.
Right. And you just
at that point, I mean, if it was getting mixed reviews, then that's one thing.
Right. But
for it to be appreciated on the level that it is, meaning that it's not a Hollywood film, you have to go out of your way to say, the special effects didn't look good. But it's a low budget film.
Yeah, yeah.
At some point, that's a given. So you're just looking for something negative to say, and I think some people do look for negative things to say. That's what gives critics such a bad name sometimes. I like to just say I saw movies and I told people about them and I review them. I'm not going to give an overly fluff review, but I'm not going to give you some extra negative review to show that I am able to critique your movie. No, good movies are, you can say the movie's good too. They ain't gonna kill you. Everybody don't agree.
Right. So with you also debuted another movie at WakandaCon as well.
Well, in WakandaCon, I just showcased the trailer to my movie that we're finishing up now. Should be finished. I mean, I've said this month, 5 months. So I'm not going to say this month anymore, but it should be finished very soon.
Is that a bridge off from the books, or is that something totally different?
Actually, it started as a dare. I won a film festival and became friends with the people who ran the film festival, and they were like, you can make money, you can make movies that cheap. I was like, yeah, I can think of a story right now.
Yeah.
And I thought of a story, and this was this was 12 years ago now.
Wow.
But as I was writing the story, I felt the need to understand the killer a little bit better. So before I wrote the screenplay, even though it was after I thought of the story, I wrote a short story, which was the backstory of the killer.
Right. Okay.
And I'm including that in the movie as well now, but originally it wasn't in the movie.
Okay. So what?
What you say?
No, I was gonna say. So what platform? I mean, because I look at streaming now as the way to go with all these platforms popping up. We already know some of the big ones: the Hulu, the YouTube. They got when I get my TV now. When you buy new plasma TV, they already come pre-packaged with Sling TV. All these different platforms I've never heard of before. I've never even heard of these things before. So is that something that you think is the way to go for the future? I'm just asking you because you talk about being low budget. So what? Do you think it's going to be a need to have to put more money in the films, or it's going to be good enough the way it is? Low budget is going to be accepted because there's so many different ways to put it out now. Or do you think?
Well, low budget was always around. You understand? Low budget film was straight to DVD, and it's been around. It's just film doesn't cost a lot of money to make. You know what I'm saying? The digital film itself, not what's behind the screen. Actors have unions, they cost money, but if you don't get actors in unions, if you shoot on private property or you shoot on public property, all you need is a permit and insurance, and you're good to go on in many places. Insurance doesn't cost a lot. It goes by the budget of your film. So if you got under $30,000 budget, your insurance budget your insurance costs are not going to be high. If you're shooting a small story without 1,000 characters and no airplane crashes and big dinosaurs walking around, you don't need CGI, or you can do CGI yourself. You're going to save a lot of money. And those films have always been out. So in terms of where they can go, well, they don't have to recoup as much money. So their platform is really like every platform. You know what I'm saying? So you can sell your film to the highest bidder or the lowest bidder and still theoretically make money. You know, people have been putting their films on YouTube, and that's a streaming service that's pretty much for free. But after you get a certain amount of hits, then you can start monetizing it. And so a lot of people do volume filmmaking. So they'll make a bunch of films or make a lot of short films and get their viewing audience up, and then they start charging, and now they have a way to make money off the film. And sometimes it's not necessarily the person, the buyer that's paying for it. Now they can charge advertisers, and they're making their money off of advertisers. So they have, they're hitting 100,000 views. I don't know what the cutoff is, but once you get to a certain amount of views, now you can sell your viewership for advertisers, and your video will get interrupted for a commercial or whatever it is, and you get paid for that.
Nugget alert. Jeff dropping more nuggets. I'm gonna have that on the bottom of the screen too. Nugget alert. Jeff showing y'all how to monetize the account. All right, so on that note, Jeff, speaking of YouTube, speaking of monetizing accounts, even before the videos that I saw that you dropping information now about how to develop a character and things that are relevant to what you do today, let's take it back to RBG Productions, the Yo Jeff movement, because it reminded me of, I'm a little older myself, it reminded me of Fab Five Freddy days, it reminded me of the box. We used to have a box back in Milwaukee where it was all staticky, and we had to keep turning the button just right to get the pop in clear, the video service. So it reminded me of those old interview street days where the hip hop artists was out there interviewing groups of people on the street. So let's take it back there, Jeff, because you've been on YouTube for a minute. Like, these videos were so not HD that I saw from back in the day. So I know you've been on videos for a minute.
I was telling my son that I use so many different types of phone cameras. Like I found some of my old cameras that are just look like boxes. They're so big. I had a little mini high 8 camera. All of those things we shot on everything. I think I got a camera back in the 91, 80 something. I started shooting just, recording home video type stuff, not even thinking about being a filmmaker, not understanding lighting or sound or any of that. Just, what you got to say? RBG Promotions is the name. I started that company my freshman year in college. Wow. And although I didn't make it legal or register with the government until 91, I was still Red, Black, and Green Promotions. And what I used to do is write bios for rap artists where the record companies had white writers, and they didn't know how to speak an urban language. So I used to just interview the artists and rewrite their bio with an urban touch, give nice appeal. And that was what Promotions was. And just so happened, my friend called and said, hey, it's opened up a comedy club around the corner from the college. And so I went down there, happened to be in New Jersey, ran by a gentleman named Bob Sumner, and it was the the Terminal D. Terminal D, and it was hosted by Willie Asbury and Terry Hodges performed there, and Bill Bellamy performed.
Wow.
And I covered it. I wrote it in our school newspaper, and I met the mayor of Newark at the time. Took pictures of him, Sharp James, before my boy Raz Baraka and Cory Booker. It was Sharp James, and that's how I got started, writing stories. And then when I met those comedians, I got invited to another place in New York called the Uptown Comedy Club.
Okay.
And that's, they had classes. So I actually started taking classes. In my class was J.B. Smoove, Ian Edwards, who's a writer, Tracy Morgan. He came in after me. Okay. Flex Alexander, Corwin, Old Dog Mitchell, you name it. There's a whole bunch of comedians that came out of those workshops. In New Jersey, you had Hamburger, and these are all guys that I knew, as like classmates, and it was interesting. So, and you had to write new jokes every week, and then to get up on stage and perform them.
Okay.
For each other, and then they would put you on New Jack Night.
Really?
Yep.
We need that kind of stuff in the well, I guess now you got writers groups and stuff like that where.
Yeah. I mean, and then at that time we were learning urban comedy ourselves. So now so many people know it, but like the Uptown Comedy Club was the room that even Russell Simmons was brought to see how to configure a Def Comedy Jam. Wow. Because it was a different room, and mind you, a lot of black rooms are still not like that. I mean, the way they kept it in order was they didn't tell you to be quiet. Right. They said, okay, if you feel like you need to talk and disrupt the show, we're going to turn the lights on.
Wow.
And then the comedians destroyed you. And we were told at the workshop, it's up to the owner of the club. He runs the night. If he turns the light on, kill whoever is talking. and that's how the room stayed in order. And I mean, I remember when we used to do our shows in New Jersey, I used to do the same thing. Like soon as the audience was like, whatever, put the lights on. Be like, yo, hit them, And it took a little while for comedians to get used to that, but it really worked well. Some comedians were better than others, but they all did it. Everybody was like, yo, so what's up? Sometimes all you had to do was turn the light on and dude would stop talking.
Wow, because they knew what was up next. Yep. That's cool. So I said, that's cool. I like that. I know about the New York club too. So when you were doing, after you did that, were you then doing the dating? Was the dating coach right after that, or were you also doing? I saw some panels. Like you were always doing panels, Jeff. Like you always had like a microphone in your hand, and you were interviewing somebody. So when did the hip hop dating come into play?
I made this movie called Gold Digger Killer, as I mentioned earlier. It was my second movie, and I felt comfortable with making the movie and showing it to people. My first movie, I thought it was a probably not as well received as it actually was. I didn't say it was corny. I would never say that, but I would say that there's a level of cheesiness that's entertaining. Okay? There's a level of cheesiness that's like, what are you doing? Don't even make sense. Yeah. My movie is not like that. Right. Okay? It makes sense. It's a good look. Holla if I kill you. But it is a level of cheesiness. Okay. Now, with Gold Digger Killer, it wasn't cheesy. So I felt more comfortable that people would understand it and and receive it well. And I wasn't mistaken because it was well received. I mean, it won its first film festival, the Hip Hop International Film Festival, and it beat my friend's movie, and they spent, I'm going to say, $100,000 on it, but I think it was a lot more than that. I have to go back and ask them because they, I didn't know it was their film when we was in the festival. And she was like, "Oh no, your film beat my film," and this was like one of her mentors. I was like, "Oh snap!" I mean, they didn't direct it and produce it, but they worked them.
What made yours better though, Jeff? Characters, story.
I think for me, it's always been the writing, the jokes.
I'm about to say
because everything is writing.
Okay, yeah. Define like that, Jeff. Because everybody think they can write, and I've even been told that everybody can write, but people can't tell a story.
Well, it's like you were saying earlier. You had got into publishing early, got out of publishing, and got into screenwriting, and you want to get back into publishing. Well, there's always a technical aspect to screenwriting, to writing prose, or to writing comics. No question. You gotta set your margins correct, and you gotta do those different things. But there's a universal element called storytelling. And I don't care how many commas you have correct, how many lines you indent, you have your camera's directions correct in a screenplay, or you tell what's going on in a particular cell. If the story is corny, none of that matters. Okay? And I'm going to tell you a little secret too. If you can't write technical, you don't know your commas, your periods, your pronunciations, you don't have the correct format, you have it written in hand, and you're doing nothing but centering your script, right? And you have no way to understand the pictures and your pacing in the in your what do you call it, in your comic book script. But if your story is hot, none of that matters.
Gotcha.
Case in point, 50 Shades of Grey, the book, right?
Yeah.
Twilight, the book. I would quote you some screenplays, but I'll tell you this much: my film Gold Digger Killer won awards, but the screenplay probably wouldn't be accepted anywhere, because it wasn't written. I probably still don't write in the correct format,
Right.
but because I make my own film, all I have to do is make sure I understand it.
That's cool.
And people make such a big deal about all of these things. For your film, you can get an editor, right? But at the end of the day, if the title of the story doesn't pop, the synopsis of the script doesn't pop, it doesn't matter how it's formatted.
True.
And if you can't write and you write a book, but the story is hot, then just hire an editor.
Yeah.
And they clean it up. People get stunned and don't write stuff because they don't think they can write that well. Well, guess what? If everybody who wrote could write,
it's a rare condition this day and age to read any good news.